Hello everyone and welcome again to my YouTube channel Learning Mania. So students, today we are going to complete the chapter that is on the face of it, class 12th. The first part we have already done. Today we are going to complete the remaining part. About author we have already learned. We have known about two characters. We have gone through setting, mood and tone of the chapter. Till now we have read that Derry was quite a pessimistic child. And on the other hand, Mr. Lamb is quite optimistic and he was trying to motivate him, persuade him by giving different kind of examples. Just to, just provoke him a spark to live happily. कि जो जिंदगी है उसको खुशी से चीजों को एक्सेप्ट करके एज दे आर आगे बढ़ना सीख ले. So now they have again here that conversation between Derry and Mr. Lamb continues. Derry said that all this word would not change his face. When Mr. Lamb asked him in our earlier video, we have read that Mr. Lamb told him that one day the word would change. It will stop teasing him because it got tired. So in reply of that, Derry said that all this word would not change his face. And he told him one incident that one day as he was waiting at a bus stop, a woman passed him. He heard her telling another woman that he had such a terrible face that only his mother could love him and no one else could. It was quite, for him, it hurt when somebody said these kind of words to someone. So Terry got hurt after listening those words of that woman. Then Mr. Lamb asked him, did he believe what he heard? Terry stressed that he heard it. Means whatever we heard, all throughout the day we hear different kind of thing. Some are good, some are bad, some are demotivating, some are there to encourage us. So he asked it, does he believe all those things, whatever he listened? There is that I heard. This is the main thing. He emphasized on that. Then Mr. Lamb asked, that was this the only thing he had heard from someone? There are so many people, he himself said, that they talk about different things. They talk about many things. Okay? Then why those words are so if affecting Derry? Then Derry said that no, he had heard many other things too. Lamb suggested him to shut his ears then. He should ignore all this. By shutting his ear, he just wanted to convey him that by shutting his ear, he should ignore all those things. There's no need to listen to things which are not required for us, which are not pleasant to us. What is the need? Then Derry found Lamb's words strange and added that he couldn't understand his question. What does Mr. Lamb wants to convey? Then Mr. Lamb said that he liked to talk and also liked the company of others. When he talked about the other things, like the other people won't talk to him, but he was talking in a friendly manner. He was not afraid of him. He was liking his company. So that's why Derry found him very strange. Then Mr. Lamb said that he liked to talk and also like the company of others. Whenever whosoever comes to his garden or talk to him, he just enjoyed that, whosoever is. He also told him that there was no need to answer him as the gates were open and he could leave if he wanted to. Means ki if Derry is interested, he can stay there. If he wants to leave that place, that garden, he is welcome to go because the gates are open. So he can come and go anytime according to his choice. Then Derry did not leave and he seemed unsure of it. Means on one hand he wants to leave that place, on the other hand now he is liking the things taught by Mr. Lamb to him. So now Mr. Lamb said that there was a beehive in one of the trees. Now he wanted to change the subject. So he told him that there's a beehive in one of his trees. Then people considered the buzzing sound of the bees to be a noise, but for him it was a song sung by the bees. Again, we have different kind of perception towards looking the life. Whatever we see, whatever we hear, we have our own intention to get it. किसी को अच्छे फॉर्म में लेना है तो वो अच्छे से लेता है, किसी को नहीं समझ में आता तो उस बात को दूसरे सेंस में ले लेता है। तो इट्स ऑल अवर परसेप्शन कि हमारे मन में क्या है जो हम चाहते हैं, दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट। तो पीपल, कुछ लोगों के हिसाब से जो बीज की साउंड है दैट्स क्वाइट नॉइजी, बट according to him, Mr. Lamb, it was not a noise, it was like humming. When somebody hums, that it means singing. So Derry explained that he had liked the place from outside and so had entered the garden. Then Mr. Lamb questioned that would he have entered, he seen Mr. Lamb, to which Derry replied in negative. Means if he thought, if he come to know earlier, then he was there in the garden. Would he come to? He said no, he won't come. Derry said that he would have entered his garden even after knowing that he was there. It would have been without his permission. That he came there, he entered, or because he thought nobody was there, and that was also without Mr. Lamb's permission. Then Mr. Lamb said that that was not the real reason. Derry said that he did not like going near people as they got afraid of him and stared at him. And he doesn't like all those things. He do not like. He doesn't like if people come, look at him and got terrified after having a glance of his face. He doesn't like that. Then Mr. Lam suggested that he could lock himself in a room forever. So it was a suggestion for him. Why don't he lock himself in a room then? He then narrated a story about the man who locked himself in room as he was afraid of everything. He doesn't want to mingle up with anybody because he was afraid that he could die. And then he continued कि everything in this world, whatever the things were there in front of him, that man used to afraid of them, like Derry did. The man thought that he would meet an accident with a bus, he would catch infection from someone, a donkey would kick him to death, the lightning may hit him or he may die, because the girl whom he loved may leave him, or he may even slip off of a banana and people would laugh at him. The different kind of fears were there inside that man. These kind of phobias he was suffering from. He doesn't want to leave his room. So that's why, to save himself, to save his life, he thought one good idea, that he would lock himself in the room. So for this safeguard, to just avoid all those kind of incident, he locked himself in his room. The Derry surprisingly asked Mr. Lamb if he locked himself forever. He replied that no, he did for a while. And what was the reason behind it? Then Derry asked, what happened next? And Mr. Lamb replied that a picture fell on his head and he died. Then, after listening to the story, Derry found it quite humorous and he laughed on that story. Mr. Lamb said they were strange, and for some people, means everybody has some peculiar habits, and some people like those peculiar habits, some don't. So don't consider what the people or what the people think about us. Don't go for that. And then Derry asked Mr. Lamb did all what he did all the day. He replied that he sat in the sun reading books, and he said that his house is full of books. Then Derry looked at the house and said that there weren't any curtains on the windows. Then Mr. Lamb replied that he didn't like curtains. He liked transparency, like light. When it comes, that the sun rays, when it comes in the room, in the house, it filled the room with light, and the wind too. Then Derry added that he also liked all of them. He also liked the sound of rain falling on the roof of this. On this, after listening this, Mr. Lamb commented that Derry was present-minded and he could hear. It means he has not lost all the hopes. He still has some spark inside it, which was just hidden. We need to just, reveal it. So Derry said that his family worried about him, that what would he do in the future with a burnt face. They always talk about him, that his face is burned out. He is not, people doesn't want to talk to him, or moreover, he doesn't want to talk to the people. Then what he's going to do in his life? On this, Mr. Lamb told him that why those people talk about this about him. He had everything a normal human being has, like 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 2 ears, and all those things. So then why to worry about? So he wanted to make Derry realize that he had so much which many other people were deprived of. There are so many handicapped people. They have different kind of disabilities, and but there is not suffering from any kind of disability like this. Then he added that Derry could accomplish a lot if he determined to do so. Any one of us, if we have strong determination, if we have willpower, so we can accomplish whatever we want in our life. When Derry asked how was it possible, and Mr. Lamb replied that the same was as he did. Derry asked if Mr. Lamb had any friends, and he replied that he had a few hundreds of them. Derry further said that still he lived alone in such a big house. If he has so many friends, then why he is living alone in this house? Then Mr. Lamb said that everyone was his friend. Many people visited the garden. Whosoever comes there, he becomes his friends. The gate remained open all the day. They sat there by the fire in the winter season. Kids come and pick apples and pears and to take the honey toffees made by him. So all are friends for him. Then Terry said that he wasn't a friend of Mr. Lamb. And Mr. Lamb said he said that Terry was a friend because he had not done any such thing that should seize their friendship. There is nothing wrong. He has not done anything wrong with Mr. Lamb. So why he is not called a friend then? Derry said they did not know each other well to become friends. Then Mr. Lamb did not consider that to be important. When he asked, he told him that he even doesn't know his name. Then he said there is nothing in the names. His name can be anything. So Derry replied that his name was Derek, but he disliked it and wanted to be called Derry only. He added that he might not visit the place in future and then they would not remain friends anymore. Then what he will do? Means like he is now saying that everybody who comes to the garden is friends. Friendship means to whom which we meet day and day by day, with whom we talk a lot, with whom we share the things. But he is not going to, if he is not going to come again, how could he be called a friend? Then Mr. Lamb asked the reason, and Derry replied that one crosses many people while walking down the street, might speak to a few of them and never see them again. This did not mean that they had become friends. There are lots of people we see throughout the day. But we talk on the road, on buses, when we travel here and there, we talk to many people, we come across many people. It doesn't mean if we are looking at somebody and somebody coming across to us, that person becomes our friend. Then Mr. Lamb commented that it did not mean that strangers were enemies, if not friends. Because it doesn't mean that they are enemies if they are not friends, like in that way. Then Derry said that they are nothing, just people. They are nor the friends, neither the they are strangers. They are just people. He said that it doesn't mean they are enemies. Then Mr. Lamb said that it could not be that people were nothing to each other. Derry said that there were some people whom he hated. Mr. Lamb replied that hatred would harm him more than the acid that had only affected his face. And it's true. Hatred is an emotion which sees other emotions in us. If we have hatred for somebody, we are going to harm ourselves, not that person, because we are keeping inside us. Then Derry commented that only his face, means when he said that only, so he was emphasizing what he's talking about only his face. Mr. Lamb said that a bomb explosion blew up his leg, but there were worse things that would happen. One could burn himself up from the inside by the negative feelings. He lost his one leg in war, but he didn't lose all the hopes to live life happily. If somebody is going to keep negative feelings in him, inside the soul, inside their mind, they are going to harm themselves only, nobody else. And then Derry said that when he had returned from the hospital, a person had said that it was better if he had remained there with people like him, like blind people with blind, deaf people with deaf. He wants to just create that kind of place. So he added that the people, Mr. Lamb added, this means that people without legs should remain together and the world would become in balance that way. Means one kind of people are living together. ठीक है, the disability one has, rest of the people who are living with him, they all have the same disability. Then what kind of place world would we? Then Derry said that at least no one would stare at the other because all of them were similar at that place. Then Mr. Lamb asked Derry that did he mean that he was like all the other people with burnt faces just because they had similar appearances? How is it possible कि we, everybody is unique in itself, oneself. We cannot say that I am like him, you are like that. So it is not possible at all. He added that everything was different. Although all things are same, yet they are different. Somehow they are similar, but they have difference behind it. Like earlier he said, Ki, what is the difference with between me and you? So here now he is saying that all are same, but still they have some difference. And what is the difference? There he was confused. Ki, what is he talking about? So Mr. Lamb said, and how he come to know all those things. Then Mr. Lamb said that our habits of watching, listening, and thinking differently made us different from each other. It's not this case somebody else is looking at the things with the same perception we are. So the other person are listening the same thing as we are listening. We have our own thought process. Every human being has its own thought process. Then Derry said he liked Mr. Lamb's house and garden. He replied that Derry was always welcome there. He can come anytime here. Then Derry said that the place was not his. कि ये उसकी जगह नहीं है. How could he? Then Lamb said that everything was his if he wanted it to be. Means here he was just offering him a hand of friendship. He wants to make friends with him because he was also alone like Derry. Nobody comes to him, nobody talk to him. So he find a companion in Derry. That's why he was offering him all the things he has. He added that all his possessions were for everyone. Derry asked if he could visit the place again, and Mr. Lamb replied that he could, and he would find company too. He added that Derry need not mind the other people. No one would stop him from entering the premises. Then Derry said that they probably would not like to enter the place upon seeing him because they are afraid of him. Whenever they look at him, they will refuse to enter his garden, and then he will become alone. Maybe then Mr. Lamb replied, maybe they would look at his face and get scared of and run away. So it was the thing that on which Mr. Lamb told him that they might and they might not run away, and that he had to take a chance on that. He would come here and just check by himself whether the people are leaving his place or not by having a look of him. Then Derry said that Mr. Lamb had to choose out of him and the other people as visitors because no one liked to remain near him. He will lose all his friends. Mr. Lamb would lose if he had Derry in his garden. Then Mr. Lamb said he was there and did not run away on seeing Derry. Then how can we expect the other people would do like that? He added that when he went out of the street, kids teased him. He was telling about himself. Although they visit the garden and his house, it is like a game. They are not scared of him, me, and because he was not scared of them. So he's saying it's a vice versa thing. Mr. Lamb told him, if I am not afraid of the kids, that's why the kids are not afraid of me. So you cannot say that. It's a kind of game we play. Then Derry asked that did his leg get injured in the war, and Mr. Lamb replied that it did so. Derry asked that how would he climb up the ladder to pluck the apples then? He has a thin leg. How is it possible for him to pluck the apples? So he replied that there are a lot of things which he had managed with the time. With the passage of time, he learned so many things. And this is one of them, to climb the ladder and to pluck the apples from the trees. Derry added that if he climbed the tree alone, fell from it and broke his neck, he would lie on the grass dead and nobody would be there to look after him. Nobody would come to know that he is no more. Then in that case, what would happen? Then Mr. Lamb said that it could happen. Then Derry asked if he could help him pluck the apples. On this point, he offered his hand. He wanted to lend him a hand of him. He wanted to help him out. Then Mr. Lamb said he could help him if he wanted to. Then Daddy said that his mother would be watching for him. His home was 5 miles away across the field. He was 14 years of age, but still he was supposed to tell her where he was. According to him, he was a teenager, so he need not to tell his mother where he is going. But his mother always fuss about it. He always want to know. Mr. Lamb added that people had the habit of worrying. Daddy added that actually they were in the habit of fussing only. Then Mr. Lamb asked Daddy to go home and inform his mother of his whereabouts. He should tell him that where he was now. His house was 3 miles away. As the weather was fine and he had legs, he could easily go home and tell them and return. Then Daddy said that once he went home back, he would not be allowed to return. Then Mr. Lamb added that once Daddy got home by himself, he would not feel like to coming back because he just want to spark that hope in him to live life happily. He wanted him to enjoy his life as whatever like it is. So he here this is the important line of the chapter. So he just want to spark that hope in him कि अगर वो एक बार घर चला गया मीन्स अगर उसे समझ में आ गई सारी बातें तो वापस इस नेगेटिविटी या पेसिमिस्टिक बिहेवियर की तरफ टर्न नहीं करेगा. Then Derry said that Mr. Lamb did not know what all he could do. Okay, what he could do, he himself knows. Then Mr. Lamb said that, yes, that it's true, that only Derry himself know what he could do. Then Derry started to say that if he chose, but was interrupted by Mr. Lamb. He didn't complete his sentence. He said that Derry had to choose and he could not tell him what to do. He doesn't want to listen from him what he has chosen. He want him to do whatever he wanted to do without telling him. Then Derry said that his family forced him to do things their way, whatever they, according to their pattern. He doesn't want those people, his family never allowed him to do the things as he liked to do. Then Mr. Lamb said it was Derry's wish to agree with them or not. Derry was confused about what he wanted. He was not aware of the things, something that was only his, and no one had it, like this garden. He gave an example of his garden. Mr. Lamb said that he could find out what he wanted. With the passage of time, he'll come to know what he wanted if he'll work upon it. Then Derry asked how he could do that. Mr. Lamb told him to wait, watch, and listen. He added that he had to see the bees. Derry asked that did the other visitor talk to Mr. Lamb? When again he turned the topic on, so he again asked, is there as someone, any acquaintance who come to meet Mr. Lamb there? Then Mr. Lamb replied that some did while some did not. Then Derry said that he didn't believe that somebody ever visit the place. According to him, Mr. Lamb was lying to him. Mr. Lamb lived there alone by himself only. Nobody cared of him. And he said that Derry could think as he pleased. Because he now at this point he come to know that Mr. Lamb is also suffering from alienation, okay, from loneliness. Then Derry asked him the names of some of the visitors. Then again Mr. Lamb said the names were nothing. It can be Tom, Dick, Harry, whatever it is. So it doesn't make any difference. So he never remember the names. But the reality was that nobody comes to meet him. Now after this, he left to see the bees. And Derry said that perhaps Mr. Lamb was mentally challenged. He has lost his mental balance. Now Mr. Lamb said that it was a good excuse for Derry. But Derry said that Mr. Lamb did not talk sense and that's why he said so. Then Mr. Lamb repeated that it was a good excuse for not returning to the garden because in whole Mr. Lamb wanted Derry to stay there. But when Derry talked about to go to home, then he got afraid inside that he would not return. So that's why he is saying so. Then Mr. Derry's face was burned, with which was other people's excuse for not seeing Derry. Now he gives an example. Those people who don't want to meet Derry, they give the example of his face like he is giving now, that his family member would not allow him to come back. Derry said that Mr. Lamb was like other people. If he was not sorry that his face was burned, then maybe he was scared of it. If not, then maybe he thought that Derry was as ugly as a devil. He added that he was a devil, and Derry shouted on that. Mr. Lamb did not reply at that. He had gone to see the bees. Derry became calm and said that Mr. Lamb did not think him to be devil. He liked to be in the garden. Then Derry got up and shouted that he was leaving and that he would return to see him. He did not have a tin leg, so he could run and would be back soon. And Derry ran off from there. And the place was silent with the sounds of the creatures of the garden again. Because he has left, now again there was nobody to talk to Mr. Lamb. And now the second scene started. It is a scene of Derry's house. The first scene was set up in the garden of Mr. Lamb. Now here the third character appears, that is mother of Derry. And Mr. Lamb talked to the bees that they saw all that happened. They all knew that no one ever returned to the garden. He knew inside him. Okay, now he is going, he is again not going to come. His mother, in the second scene, Derry's mother asked, what did Derry think of her? She had already heard about Lamb. She knows about Lamb, who is he and what kind of person he is. Derry told her not to believe what others said, but she warned him that she knew what was required to be known about any person and therefore asked him not to go back. She gave him a kind of warning not to go back there. Then Derry asked her the reason of her fear. He told her that Mr. Lamb was just an old man with a tin leg and had a big house without curtains and a garden. So now he is repeating all those things which he gained, whatever the things he was taught by Mr. Lamb, like not to hear to the people, hear to your heart, your mind. These kind of things he was repeating in front of his mother. Then Derry asked her the reason of fear. And he said that he wanted to go back and listen to things. His mother was curious to know, okay, what kind of things he wanted to listen there. But what is so different there he wanted to listen. Then he replied that he wanted to hear bees singing and wanted to listen to what Mr. Lamb said because his words were so positive, so motivating, and he was so friendly with him that he wants to enjoy Mr. Lamb's company. But his mother didn't find it suitable, and so she told him to stay at home and think about what he wanted to. And there is no need to go there now. He just stopped him by saying, "Okay, you have to stay at home and whatever you want to think, just think here only." Then Derry said that he hated to remain at house. His mother excused him for speaking wrong because he felt bad and spoke that way. Because he knows that he has some kind of, anger in his heart. If he is saying that home is not a good place to stay in, so she was excusing him for this. Then Derry said it had nothing to do with his face. The important thing was how he thought and what he saw or heard. And again, the same things which were told by Mr. Lamb to him. The important things, the way we are looking at the things, what we want to hear, what is our thought process. Then he announced that he would go back into the garden and help Mr. Lamb with the crab apples. His mother tried to stop him, but he ran away, shutting the door behind him. Now he was very happy to go and to meet Mr. Lamb in his garden. Now the third scene started. So here, this is again Mr. Lamb's garden. Or there was a sound of branches. Mr. Lamb was talking to himself while he was plucking the apples. Suddenly, there was a harsh sound of cracking wood, and the ladder fell on the ground. Mr. Lamb fell too with that ladder because he was climbing on the ladder to pluck the apples, and along with the ladder, he also fell down. Then Derry opened the gate meanwhile. He was still breathing rapidly and declared to Mr. Lamb that he had returned, and now he is very happy. He looked at him and found him lying on the ground. He went near him and tried to talk to him, but no one replied. Derry kept on calling him by his name and suddenly started crying. He did so because he realized that Mr. Lamb was dead. Because after so many, calling of his name, Mr. Lamb didn't reply to him. So then he come to know, he concluded that he is no more. And he started crying on Mr. Lamb. So this is the story, how it goes on. And you people look at your NCRT's the question answers part. Okay. After question answer, there is thing how about using your imagination to suggest another ending to the above story. Means you could give it's an open-ended story. If you want to turn the ending, if you want a happy ending, you can change it. So look at the theme of the play. The play deals with a sense of loss, a sense of isolation, and how to overcome it. The actual pain caused by a physical impairment is often much less than the sense of alienation felt by the person. जब हम अकेला छोड़ दिया जाता है, लोगों से दूर कर दिया जाता है, that is quite suffering. वो बहुत painful होता है. In this chapter, there are two characters, Jerry, who is a 14 years old boy and his face was half burnt because acid split on him. And second, Mr. Lamb, who was an old man who had lost his one leg in a war and a tin lamp. He was an extrovert, but Derry was an introvert. He lives with sadness in his life, but when he met to Mr. Lamb, then he became turned into extrovert. Means when he found a companion in the form of Mr. Lamb, with whom he could share his feelings. So he became extrovert. He started sharing his feeling, but soon it was also snatched from him by the nature. This is the chapter. I hope the things would be clear to you. Still, there is any query you can ask through your comment. Keep liking and sharing my videos. Thank you.